Let's start with a number that sounds small but says everything. Roughly 35% of so-called entry-level job postings now ask for 3 or more years of experience. Read that again. More than a third of jobs explicitly labeled for beginners are quietly demanding that you already be a veteran. This isn't a rumor or a frustrated rant from someone who didn't get a call back. It's a documented, measurable pattern across the hiring market, and it is exactly why so many young people and career changers in the UK feel like they're being asked to time travel just to get their foot in the door. So what happened? Because it wasn't always like this. Go back 15 or 20 years, and there was an unspoken agreement between employers and beginners. Your first job was where you learned how a workplace actually worked. Employers expected to teach you punctuality, communication, the specific tools of the trade, the rhythm of office life. Mistakes were treated as part of the process, not a red flag. That agreement has quietly broken down. Now, businesses expect a junior hire to contribute quickly, not perfectly, but fast enough that training doesn't slow the team down for months. The learning that used to happen on the job is now expected to happen before you're ever hired. That is the real shift sitting underneath all this frustration, and once you see it, you can't unsee it in every job posting you read. But why would employers do this? Are hiring managers just being unreasonable for the sake of it? Mostly, no. There are real forces pushing this behavior, and understanding them changes how you respond. The first force is fear. Hiring managers have been burned before. Someone interviews brilliantly, says all the right things, gets hired, and then simply cannot perform the basic functions of the job. That experience sticks with a manager, and the natural, if flawed, response is to over-specify requirements the next time around, hoping that more demands on paper will filter out anyone who might disappoint. Asking for more experience feels like protection against a hiring disaster, even when it isn't actually a reliable predictor of who will succeed. The second force is pure copy-paste laziness, and this one is more common than people realize. Many HR departments recycle old job descriptions from more senior positions without properly adjusting the requirements for a genuinely junior role. The result is an entry-level posting that reads like it was written for someone 5 years into their career, because quite literally it was. The third force is the sheer volume of applications flooding every single posting. When 200, sometimes more than 250 applications land for one role, employers start using inflated requirements as a blunt filtering tool. It's not that they genuinely need 5 years of experience. It's that listing 5 years of experience is an easy way to shrink an overwhelming pile of applications down to something a small recruiting team can actually manage. You are not being judged on merit at that stage. You are being filtered out by a number that was chosen to reduce workload, not to reflect what the job truly requires. The fourth force is what some researchers now call experience inflation, and this one has a genuinely damaging ripple effect. Because more postings demand prior experience, more graduates get stuck in a loop where they can't gain experience because nobody will hire them without it in the first place. It becomes a closed circle. Companies want proof before they'll invest in someone, but you cannot generate that proof without someone first taking a chance on you. This is precisely why nearly half of workers in some recent surveys say they've felt excluded from job opportunities purely because they lacked formal qualifications or experience, even when they were entirely capable of doing the actual work. The fifth force, and this one deserves its own moment, is the current state of the wider UK labor market. Right now, nearly 3/4 of UK firms report they are experiencing hiring difficulties, even as unemployment sits at its highest level in years. That sounds contradictory, and it is. It's not that there's a genuine shortage of capable people. It's what analysts are calling talent misalignment. Businesses are simultaneously struggling to find candidates who match increasingly narrow specific criteria, while huge numbers of genuinely qualified people are being filtered out by those very same overly rigid requirements. Everyone is frustrated, and almost nobody is actually the villain. It's a system that has quietly drifted out of alignment with itself. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting, because employers aren't just asking for more experience. They're asking for more of everything, all at once, in the same breath. Scroll through enough listings and you'll see it. A candidate who is expected to be fluent in 7 different pieces of software, comfortable presenting to executives, capable of working entirely independently with zero oversight, an expert communicator, deeply analytical, endlessly creative, unshakable under pressure, and somehow still cheerful and easygoing through all of it. Recruiters themselves openly joke about this, describing some job descriptions as reading more like a Christmas wish list than an actual set of requirements. One viral breakdown of ridiculous job ads pointed out the sheer absurdity of postings demanding you work under tight deadlines while maintaining a positive attitude and a sense of humor, as if cracking jokes is a core professional competency somewhere between spreadsheets and deadlines. And underneath the humor, there's something genuinely serious happening. Rising expectations aren't just about hard skills anymore. Employers increasingly want soft skills, emotional resilience, flexibility, and constant availability, all bundled into the same role, often without any corresponding increase in pay, training, or support. Employee burnout across UK workplaces has been rising, and it isn't hard to see why, when the baseline expectation for even a starting position has quietly become the equivalent of what used to be a senior, well-compensated job. At the same time, and this is the part that makes it feel especially unfair, workplace flexibility has become non-negotiable in the eyes of most job seekers, particularly younger ones. Hybrid and remote working are no longer viewed as a nice-to-have perk. They are expected, so you end up with this strange standoff. Employers demanding more experience, more skills, more independence, and more resilience than ever before, while employees simultaneously expect more flexibility, better well-being support, and a genuinely positive culture in return. Both sides have raised the bar on each other at exactly the same time, and the result is a hiring market that feels, frankly, exhausting for everyone involved. So, does this mean the situation is hopeless? Absolutely not. And this is the part of the video that actually matters, because understanding why this is happening gives you real leverage to work around it. First, understand that most of these inflated requirements are not hard rules. They're wish lists, not eligibility criteria. Recruiters themselves will tell you that job descriptions are frequently a laundry list of everything a hiring manager could theoretically want, not a strict checklist you need to satisfy completely before applying. If you meet roughly 60 to 70% of the listed requirements, particularly the core ones near the top of the posting, that is very often enough to apply with genuine confidence. Don't let an inflated list talk you out of applying to something you're actually capable of doing. Second, redefine what counts as experience, because hiring managers, when asked directly, usually read experience far more loosely than the posting suggests. Internships count. Freelance projects count. University coursework tied to real outcomes counts. Volunteer work with genuine responsibility counts. Structured project-based programs count. The posting might say 2 years of experience, but what a manager actually wants is proof you can do the work. And that proof can come from a dozen different places that have nothing to do with a formal payroll history. Your job is to translate what you've done into the language they're expecting to see, rather than assuming you don't qualify simply because your experience doesn't look traditional. Third, focus on reducing uncertainty rather than proving brilliance. Hiring managers aren't secretly hunting for the most dazzling candidate on paper. Most hiring decisions come down to one simple, almost boring question in the back of a manager's mind. Can I picture this person working here next week? Anything you can do to make that picture more vivid and more certain, a relevant project, a clear example of solving a real problem, a demonstration of how you'd approach a task specific to their business, moves you dramatically ahead of someone who simply lists qualifications with no evidence behind them. Fourth, ask sharp, specific questions in interviews, because they reveal an enormous amount about whether a company's expectations are genuinely reasonable. Ask what success actually looks like in the first 90 days. Ask what onboarding and training genuinely look like. Ask how people in entry-level roles typically grow within the company. If the answers are vague, defensive, or non-existent, that tells you the inflated job description wasn't a fluke. It's a symptom of a company that hasn't actually thought through what support they're prepared to offer you, and that's valuable information before you ever accept an offer. Finally, remember that this dynamic is a market condition, not a personal verdict on your worth or your capability. When you get rejected or hear nothing at all after applying to a role that demanded the impossible, that is not proof that you are unqualified. Frequently, it's proof that the posting itself was poorly constructed, copy-pasted from a more senior role, or written by someone managing an overwhelming flood of applications under real pressure. Employers themselves are increasingly recognizing this problem, with more businesses now shifting towards skills-based hiring precisely because rigid experience requirements have been screening out genuinely capable people for years. The market is slowly correcting itself, even if it doesn't feel that way from where you're sitting right now. Here's the honest truth to close this out. UK employers in 2026 are, in many cases, genuinely asking for more than is reasonable, and that isn't something you imagined or exaggerated. It comes from fear of bad hires, sloppy job description templates, overwhelming application volumes, and a broader mismatch between what businesses say they need and what they're actually willing to invest in training and developing. But knowing exactly why this is happening changes how you show up. You stop treating every inflated requirement as a locked door, and you start treating it as a negotiation, one where confidence, sharp positioning, and real evidence of your ability matter more than a perfect checklist ever will. If this video helped you see the hiring game a little differently, that's exactly what I'm here for. Let me know in the comments if you've come across a job posting that genuinely made you laugh out loud with how unrealistic it was. I read every single one, and honestly, some of your stories might end up in a future video. Like this video if it gave you something useful, and if you want more honest, no-nonsense breakdowns of what's actually happening in the UK job market, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one.